Hey guys, welcome back to part number 2 of my semi-second scale EA-18G Growler. Nice, great kit. Highly recommend it. It's going really well. So part number 1 we did a cockpit. This part number 2 we're going to work on doing the main fuselage, getting the parts together, the canopy on, and really getting ready for priming and painting next week. So this is a lot of assembly stuff and a little bit of filling, but like I say, really good kit. It goes together really well. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, welcome back. So, part number 1. Last week we did the cockpit area, and now we're going to move on to the main assembly of the jet itself. Not tons of plastic in this. Like I mentioned last time, this would be a nice kit for a beginner. The locating tabs are really big, and so far the fit is exceptional. So, not tons of parts either. So, it's just go together pretty quick. So, the cockpit was actually part number 4, so we're going to take a step back and now go to part number 1 on instructions. Again, these instructions are really nicely laid out. Again, good for beginners, easy to follow, not super complicated, that kind of stuff. So, first thing we did was add these parts right here, per the instructions, A3 and A2. It tells you here to drill the holes out, which we did last week. If you remember, I talked about it and said the first thing I ever do in a kit is always drill the holes out, because I always forget. And we cut out the little grooves right here and added the pieces right here in the instructions. To hold this up a little closer. Cut those little parts from the wings. See right here. And then you add part E15 and 14, which I've done already. So I filled that. It still needs a little bit of filler, but so I did that, and it looks pretty good. Basically, just I think this may be a difference between F and a Growler. What I'd say was last week, and what I say again this week is, if you're kind of newer to the hobby or you're not a rivet counter, I wouldn't bother doing that. It's just kind of a pain to cut this thing open. Like too much risk for major surgery to cut this thing open, stick a tiny little piece in. I'll just leave it as is. I wouldn't touch it. Any kind of interfering with panel lines and that kind of stuff. So again, it's not a big deal. If you just want like a simple build, I wouldn't bother doing that at all. You don't need to. But I did go ahead and do it and filled it. It needs a little bit of sanding and stuff, but you can see there. Again, turn back to part number 1 and you'll be able to see how I did that and talk to some of the tools I used and stuff. So moving along, it looks like we add the lower wing parts of the wings to the upper fuselage, which is B13 and 12. Now, I added one side already, and I gotta tell you, that fit is absolutely perfect. So, good job, Academy. Academy really making some great kits. So, basically, all you do is just basically fits perfectly in there and just glue around the edges. So, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take some of the white top cement and just kind of dab a little bit on the main tabs and main areas. And just click the wing in. Push it in. Then I'm going to take the usual extra thin and just run around the line, the seat join lines. Let the capillary action work. And just to hold it down, I'm just going to use a peg. And that's it. I'll let that dry for 20 minutes or so. Just leave it alone. To say, great kit. I definitely think this is better than Hasegawa kit. The only thing to note is you can't drop the flaps unless you kind of cut them out and do major surgery. And the canopy has to be down, and apart from that, it's a little bit restricted with the options you can do. But apart from that, if you look at the detail right here, the panel line detail and rivets and stuff, it's just really, really nice, nicely molded. And again, look at that piece there is pretty much a perfect fit. So, okay, so put that to the side, put the glues to the side, and we'll move on, open instructions, and move on to number 2. And we'll take the rear fuselage, And we're going to add this very nicely detailed main wheel bay. And put instructions, pretty simple, just again goes right on there, and these huge locating pins to help us. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white glue again, just down the main areas. Just going to check which way this goes. I think it goes this. Yep, it goes like that. Okay, guess what? Another perfect fit. Liking this a lot. This kit a lot. It's really nice to work with. Now, add a little bit more of the extra thin around the edges again, just a capillary action. And as easy as that. I'm just going to take a clamp just to hold this together real quick. Take a friction clamp. The famous blue friction clamps that everybody wants, and you can have any more, I guess. So, okay, now I'll put that to the side. But the other part, let that dry again for 20 minutes or so, and we're moving right along here. Next part is the intakes. So, pretty much two parts. I'm going to use some of this thicker glue because it's going to help take some of the seam lines out rather than using the extra thin. So again, using the white top. I really like the white top. Past year, that's kind of been revolutionary for me. I used to use extra thin for everything. Now I'm using kind of white top a lot more and kind of really kind of using it along with the extra thin. And once again, a really nice fit. So these are the front of the intakes. And the way it's molded, you can't really see the seam lines, which is really good too. So I don't think you really need to do anything with the seam lines, especially in 72nd scale. They look pretty good. So, looking at instructions here, is us to glue two pieces together, then you have to come the fans behind it. Now the fans, according to the colours on this, is steel, and the intakes are white. So what I'm going to do is, once this dries, we're going to paint this white, and we'll paint this the metallic colour. And then once it's painted, we'll just glue it onto the back afterwards. It's obviously it's one of those things you've got to paint separately, and then you'll be able to see the steel back with the intakes. So put that to the side to paint, and that is pretty much it. I'm looking for the instructions here. There's a few decals to go on there. I think we might take care of that later. Landing gear, we're not going to do right now. We're going to do it at the very end. And once we've got this painted up, and we'll just sandwich the two together with the horizontal stabilizers. Nice one big piece will fit in. Now I did dry fit the upper to lower with this in, and as the rest of the kit, it's beautiful fit. No seam lines, fits perfectly, which is cool and unusual because I've been working a lot of Revell kits recently, so this is kind of a pleasure to kind of handle this kit right now. Then after that, we're going to go to, we've done 4 already, which is the cockpit. So we're really kind of moving along. So what I'm going to do is I'll let these two bits dry real quick, and we'll get the intakes painted, and we'll come right back to button up the 2 fuselage halves. Right, so we've painted the intakes white, and the blades are steel color. Not that you probably see much of it. So now we're just going to attach the way around the blades to the back of the painted fan blades. I like most of this kit. It's almost a snap tight. I mean, it's beautifully fitting kit. I don't think you really need glue, but I'll just add a little bit just to be sure. Okay, so then this intake bit just goes into here, and you see that? That just literally clicks into place. Again, almost a perfect fit. Well, there it is, perfect fit. So add a touch of glue. There you go, glued in. Beautiful. So, asked for a few decals and stuff here. We're going to do that later at the very end, once we painted the thing, obviously. Part 3, as I mentioned, we're not going to do any of this. Sorry, see it better on screen. We're not going to do any of the gear. We'll do that at the very end as well. And looks like next part is to marry up the two fuselage halves with this guy in between. So this just sits perfectly in a gap there. Let's see how this fits. So this should just go like this. And there you go, once again a beautiful fit and no glue. We're obviously going to glue this together. Just put a peg on just to hold it. And right there. And looking good. So that completes. I'm going to hold this my fingers a little bit just to kind of dry, make sure it grips. So then 4 we did already, which was the cockpit. 5, actually still part 4, is going to be at the cockpit bit we just built. So I'm interested to see how this fits, because everything else has been perfect so far. Let's see how this fits. A bit of glue in here. And let's see. So this clicks into this. Oops. And again, a beautiful fit. Look at that. Great. Little tiny bit of a seam line back here, but touch a little bit, touch of filler, and that's going to disappear. But actually, if I just push, you know what? I just pushed that in a little bit further with my pressure of my finger, and it took that pan line away, so it's perfect now. So very nice. I'm going to have to touch more glue just to make sure that sticks. Just gotta be careful with my pins here. I didn't put it on my pegs, so I didn't kind of put it on the seat and break the seat off. But there you go. It's come together really quickly. What else? So I already pre-built these guys, the pods on the end. So this, I believe, goes on this wing. Touch of glue. And there. That completes 4. And then, so looking for the instructions, we're going to let this dry a little bit, then we're going to have the nose section. We'll check the fit. If these are a good fit, we won't do these till the very end. We'll, the tails we'll add on, we'll paint separately and add on at the very end if we can. And that's pretty much the main assembly done. So let this set off a little bit and dry. And then we'll come back and we'll just finish off the last few bits. But you see how beautifully this goes together, how quickly and how nicely it fits. I'm very impressed with this kit. So let's let this dry and we'll come back and finish off the main assembly. Okay, as you can see, we're making a lot of progress in this. It's going together really quickly and really nicely. So the front end's on. So perfect finish, fit everywhere, just a little bit of a gap right here, as you can see. With the nose joins, it's nothing major at all, just a fraction of a millimeter, so it needs a little bit of filling. The other side's not quite so bad. Added these guys on the wings, and a few lumps and bumps. Now, I've added the big lumps and bumps which aren't going to be broken off or affected with the painting or weathering. So the little tiny aerials and stuff were out at the very end, but like the main things like this big bump right here, glued that on. Now be careful in the instructions, there's two versions of this in the kit. There's this F version and a G, which we're doing. I actually put the F one on by accident, so I had to just peel it off and glue the correct shape on, so just watch that one. And then glue these other big like kind of lumps and bumps on too, like this guy right here. And the two on the back, so two on the side, two on the back. It's a little vague in instructions where these go, but I think I got my best guess. I'm not a rope counter, so I don't care if they're a fraction of a millimeter out. But yeah, going together really well. Added this guy behind the cockpit. Again, was a really nice fit. Just a little bit of a gap seam line right behind it. I'm just going to fill in just because of the scale. It'd probably be okay. I just want to add just a little bit of filler just to kind of just take care of this. And yeah, so talking about filling, I'm going to take care of this one as we mentioned. Just these another little touch up where I added these parts. As we mentioned, a little bit down here on the other side. And on the instructions, let me just focus it a little bit better. These guys gets filled too, these three. They don't, the bird strike things, whatever they're called. On this variant, they get filled. So fill those. So a little bit of filling work to do. Also, what else I do? Oh, where's the tail? So try the tail out, and as expected with this kit, it is a perfect fit. It just fits right in there, no seams or nothing. So, which is great. So it makes it a lot easier for us. So we're going to paint these separately and decal them and stuff. And at the very end, we'll even weather them. At the very end, we'll just add them in. I don't even need to glue them, to be honest with you. They just fit perfectly. So that makes it a little bit easier, especially with this the multiple color kind of markings we're doing on this. What else to talk about? Oh, Canopy. It did have a slight center seam, very slight, but I took care of that using the usual method. If you check out my other videos, like the Eurofighter build, I go for it in a little bit more detail, so I'm not going to go for it in much detail here, but basically just used a very old kind of fine sander. This happens to be a Flory Models one, and I just very lightly kind of sand off the seam line. Once the seam line's gone, the mold line should I say, I then take a polisher. This one's also a Flory Models. You can also use, the Ultimate ones are okay too. So I start with the rough side, and just really just get those scratches out, and then switch to the potting here at squeak, and then polish it with this, and once it starts squeaking, you mean you're pretty much good to go. So it took nice care of the seam line. Obviously careful you don't crack the canopy. Also, that as I think I mentioned last time, I like to use the Novus products. These are products that I've had years and they'll last for years because you just use a tiny little bit. So you can use toothpaste, but I use this, the number 2. So once I've got that seam line off, I then go with the rough side here. I go with the scratch remover, just kind of help get the scratches out. And then at the very end when I'm polishing, I add this guy, which is basically kind of like water. It's really thin consistency, it goes everywhere. So just a little drop, and then helps. I just shine it with this, and it brings up the shine as it says on the packet. One thing to note with this too is don't do what I did, and unless you're ready to put a canopy on, don't kind of test fit it. I test fitted it, and it obviously fits good. But when once I take it off, the actual pin at the front here attaches. It's snapped off. It's not a big deal because it's going to get glued down, and you're not going to see it or anything. Paint's going to cover it. Just be careful. It's such a good fit. You can't, it's hard. I say when I pulled it off, I pulled off the broke off the tab at the front. So yep, and also got the focuses. I've also got the tiny little HUD. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to take care of all the, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take care of all the little filling jobs, and then once that's taken care of, I'm going to glue the HUD in. I'm going to use white glue, like Gator glue or PVA glue, just to keep that in so it doesn't frost the glass. And then I'm going to mask the canopy, get the canopy on, and then we're pretty much ready for priming and painting. So let me do those few little jobs, and we'll come back and we'll wrap up the final assembly on the main fuselage. With the power of editing, we are back, and all the filling parts taken care of. Like this little bit guy back here, the front here, and a little bit underneath, a few little bits here and there. And the canopy's on, masked by hand, which I'm very proud of, because normally I use mask sets, but with the F18 canopy being pretty simple, I went ahead and just masked it myself. So fingers crossed that'll turn out okay. And yeah, that's it, pretty much ready. So you see how quickly this thing went together. Really nice looking. I won't worry so much about the white lines and stuff. Once the primer goes on, it's going to take care of all that kind of stuff. It's going to blend it in. Give these guys a little stand. I think they're going to be okay. Again, once the primer goes on, we'll take a look. If need be, we'll do a little bit more work on there. But I think we'll be okay. So that really concludes the part number 2. So like I say, this part was really just going through the main assembly. As I mentioned several times already, all the little bits and bobs and the gear and the pods and that kind of stuff will be done separately, and we'll add on at the end. It's just going to make it a little bit easier with the painting side of things. So, yep, I hope that's pretty much wraps it up. So it's been a longer video than I anticipated, but we've gone through a lot of stuff. Great kit, and looking forward to getting some paint on this. So hopefully see you guys next Friday when we will start the priming and painting of this beautiful looking EA-18G Growler. Till next time, see you later guys.